Hello and welcome to Microsoft Azure, the big picture, and our very first module, Understanding Microsoft Azure. And I'm here to help you understand all of the different pieces of Microsoft Azure and how they can help you build solutions and build your business. Feel free to reach out to me on Twitter if you've got questions or just want to interact about the course or other things around Azure. As you start thinking about Microsoft Azure, it can be a little daunting. If this is your first foray into cloud computing, you may have a lot of questions, a lot of concerns about all sorts of things, from how data is managed, or security, or how you are going to create and manage solutions. And my goal with this course is really to help take away any of that doubt, any of that concern, and help you understand the cloud, Microsoft Azure's cloud offerings, and how you can use these pieces, these services, to build your solutions and help maintain your business. Now, Gartner has a definition for cloud computing, and essentially what we're talking about is you using compute and data storage in somebody else's data center so that you don't have to manage hardware, and so you have rapid capabilities to expand your data storage, your computation power, and any other kind of scale which you need without having to invest capital in hardware. When we talk about a cloud, there are a couple different ways that resources or services can be provided in a cloud environment. One is infrastructure as a service, or IaaS. This is really where you get provided the bare infrastructure you need to create your own computing environment. Think about virtual machines, hard drive storage space, networking and IP addresses, and those sorts of things, so you can build an environment similar to what you've maybe built in your own data centers or with a hosting provider. There's also platform as a service. And here the idea is to abstract away a lot of the infrastructure and provide you a platform to run your solutions on. With platform as a service, you're generally not managing virtual machines and hardware or infrastructure. You're managing application platform components, instances of a web application, for example, or a database that's hosted as a service. And finally, there's software as a service. This is an even higher level of abstraction where you're purchasing or subscribing to an application or software. The most common examples are things like email, whether that's Gmail or Microsoft's Exchange in Office 365, but there's also examples today where you might be buying a service that plugs into your solution. That service might do things like manage sending text messages and receiving replies from people, or email campaigns. People choose cloud computing for a number of reasons, but one of the big ones is that you get reduced time and cost to provision what you need to build a solution. It's very easy, takes minutes and sometimes seconds to get the platform or the infrastructure that you need created and provisioned. And because you only pay for what you use, it also ends up costing a lot less in almost all cases than if you went out and bought hardware and installed it in your data center. You also get greater flexibility for scale and deployment. There's a variety of different models that we'll see and talk about around how you can deploy your application code, and they come with different trade-offs in terms of the way that you scale the application and the options that you have, as well as the way you package and deploy your applications. So there's a lot of variety, and one of those is pretty much guaranteed to work for you. As I mentioned, you pay for what you use in a cloud computing environment. As opposed to having to pre-buy hardware and software, you pay as you go, and you often pay on a consumption basis. You're storing more data, you're going to pay a little more. You're not actually processing overnight. In a lot of cases, that means you won't be getting charged because you're not using up resources in the data center. So you get a lower overall total cost of ownership with a cloud-based solution. And finally, cloud computing offers new solutions that would be very difficult to do in your own environment. Sometimes that's related to the massive scale that's required, and just the sheer cost and work required to build that kind of environment is difficult. but there are also benefits to solutions hosted out on the internet or in the cloud that can update and interact in a much more timely manner, and that can take advantage of all the other services within the cloud provider as foundational components to create very unique and powerful solutions. As we talk about the cloud and Microsoft Azure, keep in mind that you've probably got a pretty big investment in your own data center and your own applications and solutions today. And the good news is you don't have to completely reinvest in the cloud. But as you build solutions in the cloud, or as you move solutions from your data center to the cloud, or as you build hybrid solutions, you can connect those two environments. So as you move forward, you'll likely still have applications that run strictly in your data center. You may have some that run strictly in the Azure cloud that are either new solutions or migrated from your data center to take advantage of the cloud platform. And in many cases, you'll have these hybrid solutions where part of the application can really take advantage of a cloud infrastructure. And so you deploy that out to Azure, but you have connections back to your data center to take advantage of the application code, logic, and data that you've already spent time and effort and money building. In this course, we're going to focus on Microsoft's cloud, Azure, and we're going to talk about the infrastructure as a service and platform as a service primarily. So we'll look at compute, running your application code, whether that's a virtual machine or a container or a web application or some serverless implementation. We're going to look at data storage and processing, all the different options for storing data in different formats and different services, the different ways that you can process that data. We'll talk about integration in Microsoft's Azure cloud and how you can connect not only your Azure services to each other, but connect those Azure services to your own data center or to other partners and organizations in different clouds, for example. We'll look at networking so you can understand the capabilities around networking your services together. Again, networking, cloud, and data center solutions together, and taking advantage of networking technologies such as content delivery, traffic managers, firewalls, etc. We're going to talk about the very important concept of management, being able to take care of all of these solutions and services that you'll be working with. How do you monitor them? How do you deploy your solutions? How do you restrict access? And who can do what? And we'll talk about identity, which is very important to that question of who can do what. We'll see how you can use identity at the management level, as well as in the application level, and other security options around storing secrets, for example. Azure, like many cloud providers, has a series of services and offerings that you can build with. One of the big questions is, how do you put those together? You've got all these building blocks, but how do you put them together to build a solution? And the other is, what blocks do you even have? There are so many different services just in Microsoft's Azure cloud that it can be hard to keep track of all the different options that you have. Now, when my kids were younger, they used to build with building blocks, and I used to help them. And let's face it, I enjoyed it as much as they did. And they had two different building styles. One of my kids liked to follow a blueprint or a manual, liked to know all the steps, liked to have a step-by-step process to show them exactly how to build a very specific solution. My other son was able to take just a random pile of blocks and picture a solution that he wanted to build, and he would pull together the blocks and use them as best as he could to get the result that he wanted. And we see this in software development as well. Sometimes you want that blueprint that says, here's exactly how you build the solution you're looking for. You want a web application with a relational database? Here's how you do it. And sometimes you've got a new solution, a new idea, or something proprietary to your company, and you want to know, what are all the different pieces I have? And give me some ideas about how I can put these together to build my solution. With my kids, in either case, the solution always involved me finding them all the pieces. I'm here to do the same for you in Microsoft Azure, because there are so many pieces, so many slight differences, and it's important to understand how they all fit together. So as you look at Microsoft Azure, you're going to see that there are just a plethora of services out there, and it can be overwhelming to try and make sense of all of them and how they fit together. Now, Microsoft on their web pages tries to categorize and put these together for you, but my goal here is to take this large set of services that are available to you, group them together logically, and talk to you about the different capabilities so that you leave this course with an understanding of what the different services are that you can use to build your solution, regardless of your style. If you want a blueprint, you'll see you can find some blueprints for exactly how to build these things. If you want to just know what the services are and put them together in your own unique way, you'll have that capability as well. So we'll organize these throughout the course to talk about them in larger units and how they relate to each other. We'll talk about compute options. What are the different ways that you can package up an application and run it on the Azure platform? Everything from virtual machines to containers to serverless, web applications, or even Service Fabric, where you can have a whole mesh or fabric of application components, some running in containers, some as executables, all working together. When we look at data storage, we're going to look at everything from relational databases to key value pair storage, document databases, caches, data lakes, blobs, all of the different options that are available to you, as well as data processing, things like machine learning and artificial intelligence that are, again, services provided by Microsoft that you can quickly take advantage of in your Azure solutions. In addition to processing the data, you may have data analytics. You really want to take the data and reason over it and get an understanding of what's going on in your systems. So we'll look at things like Data Factory, Databricks, Stream Analytics, and how you go about processing and analyzing all of that data. We'll look at the integration capabilities, so you can understand messaging and API level integrations with things like Service Bus and API management. We'll look at eventing with Event Grid and Event Hub, as well as logic apps for creating workflow around your integration points, and some of the more advanced capabilities at the integration account level that enable you to connect to legacy systems using things like EDI, as well as very modern software as a service applications and APIs. We'll look at the various network components, everything from the CDN and firewalls to virtual networks and traffic manager. And across all of these different things, we're going to have considerations around management. So monitoring, deploying, managing these applications. You're going to need to build that application. So we'll look at development tools and the Azure DevOps solutions that you can use to manage your application lifecycle and the creation of your software. We're going to look at identity, the Azure Active Directory and its many different variations that can tie into your own Active Directory, storing of secrets in Key Vault, and using managed identities in your applications. And we'll touch on a variety of other services, everything from mixed reality, mobile applications, and Internet of Things. So while it can be overwhelming to think about all the different services that are offered, the goal of this course is that by the end, you have a good understanding of the different buckets of services that are offered, what falls into those buckets, and the different capabilities, so that as you go to build your solutions, you know where to go to find those pieces, those building blocks that are going to help you create the solution that you've imagined. Another thing I'm going to try and do is provide you some example solutions. As we talk about compute, for example, I'll talk about a couple of different options or example scenarios of solutions that you might build to help bring these higher level concepts a little bit more to ground and to make them a little bit more concrete for you. As we get ready then to dive in, keep in mind that these cloud solutions offer a lot of benefits around not just cost, but also the capabilities that you get at a development level to quickly create, scale, and iterate on your applications. There's a number of different options for using these cloud services. You're going to see a variety of different ways that you can store data because different applications have different requirements. A variety of different ways that you can run applications and connect them together through networking and integration because, again, there are a variety of differing requirements for your applications, and the cloud has options to meet those requirements. If you're worried about having to go wholly into the cloud, keep in mind those hybrid solutions. You can move small bits of your applications or create new bits in the cloud and still connect and integrate those seamlessly with your data center and your existing applications. With all that, it's time to jump in and help you master an understanding of the Azure Cloud Platform.